Here we are. I've started the recording. This is our this is our highlight section for June 24th. And earlier we had talked about lots of different drawings, and and there was a question of how do large pieces of equipment read these drawings, and I discussed a drone job that we had done, and I'm trying to find the final files for it. I'll maybe find them at some point. But this is a scan, just so that you can see. We flew the drone. Here's a bunch of the exports. So this was our low elevation one, and it was a development group called Splash, and Piner Associates was the architect, and they were doing the preliminary review. So this is part of that huge development south of uh, Highway 50 in the Rancho Cordova and Folsom area that got approved. And part of that huge approval was some redevelopment on the Mather site. And they're going to put in about 500 homes. And in order to pass the environmental impact report, they needed to set aside about 25 to 50 acres of for a kind of a nature area. And so the Splash group is an educational foundation that does that kind of stuff. So this is not a nice area, by the way. This is the part of Mather Airfield where most of the drug deals get done, and awful videos get shot, and so it's really hard to get there. So they asked us to do a drone flight to get the topo of it, and get we actually made a video walkthrough for them. And because they only wanted it to have the police to have to go clear the area once and then they wanted the data. So we actually flew this, and you can
Is
see
this around
here.
the corner from A Street,
No, this
on the A
is
Street side?
no, this is actually like winding. This is these are the bunkers at Mather. These are the bomb
Mhm.
bunkers at Mather. So it's sort of what? Where was that? Is it darn it? I'm forgetting which name it is, but it's almost to Sunrise out there, and this is
Mhm.
south of 50.
Okay.
Um,
I mean, it's pretty sketch around many parts of Mather at this
oh,
point.
yeah, yeah, it is. And so, like, these are where the atomic bombs were kept, right here.
Mhm.
And this was a little building and another little building. There were some sheds, and it's real interesting. This little topo right here was an underground tunnel that they had, and then they collapsed that tunnel and packed it in, and that's become a vernal pool. So this is one of the few vernal pools that's left out there, and it's sort of man-made. It's just a little bit of a dip right there, and there is absolutely, because they packed it and did all this and they leveled all this. This is like about a, look from there. That's got an elevation of 5 feet. That's got an elevation of 10 feet. And this is over a mile. So it's like level within 5 feet over a mile. So it's huge. Um,
Where is this?
these are out at Mather Air Force Base.
Oh, okay.
Um, And so this is Highway 50 over here. The actual runway is like way over here. And this is like Watt or not gosh, what's that one that just goes south 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 forever? There's a huge irrigation canal here. Campbell's Soup, I think, is somewhere right over here. But it's just a real sketch area. Not good. There's a nice little road that runs down here. So I'll show you. This is actually what it looks like. And so you can imagine that there's the little vernal pool that's left right there. There's the bunkers. One of these bunkers, I think it's this one, a guy basically leases it, or did, and he takes all these giant, huge trunks and trees, and he's got like this very cool lumber mill, and he just saws up these logs and then sells the wood. And so these are giant logs, tree trunks. The tree that fell down, our old oak tree, is actually here. These are about 20, 25 feet tall. And so we did this scan, and we turned it into a topo drawing. And this all comes out of the thing. So now we've got, and this is all geolocated. So we actually do know where these are, and these references are to whatever. I think they asked us to use some California state geo map that was done. I don't even remember where it was. But it's really cool because the drone locks in on the GPS signal, and then you really do get where this stuff is when you do it. So there you go. And this is what's called a DXF file, digital exchange format. But what's cool is the drone gives us the topo. It'll either give you a point cloud where there would be, about 1 trillion points on this thing, or you can ask it to give you these topos. So that's a typical topo drawing. And then from this, we use this in a class, and we did some grading, and they wanted to make some sort of reuse for these. So we actually came up with a development that would turn some of these into teaching rooms and some into winery things. And there was a way to come in, and we put in parking, because you can see that there's actually roadway already graded, so we wouldn't be destroying anything. We put in culverts, and so this became a very cool development project for our class. And the company just wanted this so that they could start doing their work. And I'm not sure what happened to it. We didn't really keep up on where they are in their development, but it's kind of cool. So there you go. That's a DXF. The only thing I had to do was change it from, it comes in as, let's see, this should have been in feet. It came in meters, so I had to convert this to feet. I had to scale it 3.2 times. And I know I've got it just about right, because this elevation compared to this base elevation is about 15 feet, and that is about how tall the bunkers were. So I feel pretty good about my scale on this. So this thing is about, that's about half a mile in that direction. So it's very cool. It was fun. It was good. And that's one of the first drone jobs that we did. We also did a cool one at, like I was showing you, at Wildman Hill. We actually drone scanned the basketball court at ARC when the company redid the floor, and found flaws. It was not flat, and we were able to find all the dips and valleys in it using the drone, and had them redo the floor. after they had redone it. They also use our scans. So ARC now has a drone ops team, and they regularly scan the tops of the buildings looking for HVAC leaks. They scan the football field, the fields looking for irrigation patterns. So they've done quite a bit of work with it. See what that one looks like. This is a PNG, and this is actually not feet. It should have been meters. That's meters. So there we go. All right, so that was just a little bit I wanted to show you because I said I would. This must be the parking. Something about the parking. I'm trying to find the project that we did, and I'm not finding it. These are just some. You'll see that in some of our classes, you'll see the typical stuff that we do. Right. This is how we run our classes. Very typical set of drawings. This was a scan that we did flying over Olive Drive. This has all been redeveloped now in Davis, but we did our own cool version of it to show how we might want to do it. So kind of cool, fun stuff. There we go. Let's see. Close that one up, and come back to our VMware. So that kind of touches base. Oh, and if you want to see it kind of like this, you can see how the elevations look on it. Okay, now if I were to put this into Revit, let me do this. Let me save this file, and I'll just show you just for fun. Save as. I'll just put it on here.
So are you guys doing all the blueprints and plans internally for the new building then?
No, we don't get to do that because it's got to be run through the state architect's office. However, we do have the Revit file, and we are doing much of the interior design work for to give Keller Group our desires. So let me show you if I can. I'm just going to show that one to you. Let's see, topo. Yes, topo is topography. So I'm going to get out of this group and go back to here. And I'm going to open up a drawing for you to just show you a little bit. We are currently building prototypes of the workstations for the design hub and the design tech. So let me, these were designed by students, by interior designers, from the design hub. So they were from the interior design department, worked through the design hub, and then I put together the details for our weld shop. And just as an example, I'll show you some of that. But we're doing the interior design for the design hub, the storage and the desk placements, and what type of monitors we want. We're doing it also for the VR room. We're doing a VR development lab. And then we've got a number of rooms that we're working on. Let me open up for you and see if I can find them. Hope I can find them. And I think this was the one. let's see if this is a full workstation or not. So this is a program called Inventor. So this is one workstation that you can see. And so the Z bars are all welded, and there's a flat plate table for it. So this is the assembly. Let me open up a work pod, and 3 of those go together to make a work pod. And let me see if I can find. You'll see this is what the model looks like for one of these. So these are cool. We get all the Z-bar cuts and these and this, and so this is an example of how we can take a product for the interior designer and actually fabricate it. That's kind of a cool thing. Let's see what other drawings I've got in here. Assembly, work pod.
Looks like the old drafting tables.
It pretty much is. So basically, this is a flat plate layout with bend angles, and this just comes out of that file. Okay. What's really cool, if I can, now I'm going to go find, if I can, find my best place to look at for that. This is going to be, what was that called? Here's the full drawing set for that, by the way, that I gave to the, so there's the top end assembly. There's the assembly for the workstation. There's the assembly and the cuts for the each strut. So you can see that those are all just right there. And these, they just give the parts right there and gives the assembly for it.
Does CAD break that out all for you, or do you need to do all of that, pull it all out separately yourself?
Well, yes and no. A little bit of both. So once the model is made, these almost pop out all by themselves. So for instance, once I make this model, it imports right into here, and I just place that, literally I assemble that on top and put this crossbar in and say, okay, that's that, and it tells me everything. And then I just place 3 of them together with the work screen, and it does this. So a lot of this in this particular drawing program, Inventor, does a lot. You just, it really does come out of that model. These models, let me go ahead and open up one of the models.
So are we going to get to a point where only the architects are using AutoCAD?
No, because AutoCAD is still the graphics champ. These are like, most people still do their details in AutoCAD and then import them. So it's still the detailed drafting preference for many of these. But what I want to do, I think this is it. Nope, that's not it. I'm trying to find it. I'll get there eventually. Brenda's work. There it is. So this was the interior design workup, and this is a PowerPoint of it, which is not as good as what the program that she used, but it's pretty good. But this is room 309 on campus, and you can see how it's set up now. And what we asked for was a COVID-safe design, changed from 24 workstations to 18, with 6 remote workstations and 1 instructor workstation, collaboration table, and we wanted to be able to easily disinfect, and we wanted recording and audio at each workstation with good air quality control. So this is how it actually ended up being used. And I changed this a little bit. She found this design that would lock up against a wall, and I modified that just a little bit. You can see that the basic one is the same, but instead of putting these two back to back, I arrayed it. I just think it's a little more cool than this one. So what we're going to build is not quite this, but almost this. And these are the remote workstations, which are basically big monitors. And you can see what she had done. So this is a nice interior design workup of what we wanted. And so we've got all this and you can see how similar this is to what we've designed. And then she did the full design of it. Okay. So that was Brenda did that. And, you know, she's got some of this kind of stuff. Now, if you look, this is the setup that goes on each workstation, the audio visual setup. It's got the microphones, the camera, a lighting set. And these, you know, we're not sure we'll use all these, but we've got a set of these to try. It's actually going to be 2 monitors and a small computer that will be used. So there's the monitor. We're probably not going to use that big of a computer because we don't need it now that we've got the VMware. And this was the cool part. Each of these pods has one of these Braun downdraft ventilators that just sucks the air out of each pod. So, and then that can go directly back to the HVAC so that we're not mixing air from everybody. It's the coolest thing. And this costs like $750. So that was cool. We've got these things set and some other kinds. So this is a conceptual interior design, and look how much better it will be than that. And we also have a walkthrough of this now, which I think you saw. We did a walkthrough of it a week or 2 ago. So that's how these things kind of work together. They kind of do that. And now we've actually sent these plans over to our weld shop, and we're going to do this out of stainless steel, which is a little expensive. We could actually get a piece of countertop, whereas this will cost about $175. We could get a piece of countertop for about $60, but we think it looks cool, so we're going to do it anyway. You can see there's a spot to mount. There's, you know, cabling opportunities, places where this all goes together and bolts together. It's a pretty cool little setup. And they're going to make one for us. They are making it for us now. And the goal is in the fall to take out a couple of the workstations out of room 309 and install our workstations. So that's kind of cool. So there's a design set then that you could see. There's some floor plan. There it is in Revit. Revit. So there we go. Furniture design. This is where she did her furniture design. So this is basically what I worked off of, but I decided that rather doing this, I would work off of a design that's a little bit more standardized. So in other words, I only had to make one type of leg, whereas here there were two types of leg. So just a minor change, and but this was the work that our interior designer did. Kind of cool, huh? And I did, instead of these two mirrored with this one set in, I actually put three of them all around so that they don't quite work like this. I did an array instead of a mirror. There we go. So those were some of the things that we talked about in the early session. You guys have any questions from, hold on, here we go. From, let me find. What we're supposed to do this week. Any last questions about what we've got for this week?
I'm working on plate 2, and I don't remember if I asked this already or not, but is there a way to do a rectangle and then anchor it to a center line? I'm drawing my rectangle and I've got my center lines drawn out, but I can't seem to snap it to where I want it so that it's centered on the center line.
Yeah, so let me get back to.
And I don't know, maybe it'd be easier if I shared my screen.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and share your screen? I think I know what you're talking about.
All right, let me get logged in here on the other system.
Okay. AutoCAD doesn't have as good of a rectangle command as Inventor does. In Inventor, you can see that you can draw any number of types of those. There we go.
All right, give me a second here. Oh, I forget which program I'm in. All right, so like here, this is my default template that I made.
Yep.
So all my drawings start here, so because I'd like to find my center line. But if I come here, I'm just trying to draw, wrong button. Draw my rectangle and have it anchored across this center line right here.
Right. So go ahead and draw your rectangle.
Okay.
Now go to your O snaps and set geometric center as over a few more. One more.
Oh.
There you go. Do geometric center.
I have it check marked.
Okay. It's probably overriding to a couple of the others, but go ahead and do the move command. And then select your object. And there's the geometric center. You see that little weird thing? So you can select the geometric center and then put it at the intersection.
Okay, you have to do the move command. I was just trying to drag it.
Yeah, no, it doesn't do that. Inventor will, but this doesn't. So it has to. You have to have a move. You have to have a command active.
Okay. So that was the missing piece. It's like I'm sitting here. It's like it's just not working.
Right. Yeah. So the snaps don't work until you're in the middle of a command.
Okay.
That's where that goes. So that was cool. Any other questions while we're going and at it? Well, then let me show you. Let me see if I can bring one up. There was a cool one I wanted to show you how I did it. Because those of you who are into a little bit more interior design, where's my cool pattern? I made that cool thing. And it's like, oh, how in the world did you get that done? So I'm gonna show you a cool trick on these. So in my layout, oh my goodness, that's pretty terrible looking. I'm gonna go ahead and change that. So I made a little cool pattern, and then I made it an array in one direction, but since it had to be kind of offset and moved around, I copied this and moved it into place, and then I did copy, copy, copy. So I've got kind of this cool little pattern here that I can use as a backdrop. Now, if I make a new layout and get rid of that, under my layout, I can make a viewport out of all sorts of cool things. But if I have something drawn, I can make a viewport of it. So I'm going to just make some other cool, interesting pattern. I'll do and I'll make that kind of curvy. And then I'll offset it. And then I'll attach these little lines up.
What command did you hit to flatten that out?
P-edit. And I had to type it in because I don't know where it is. I don't know where Polyline Edit is. Probably one of these ones down here, but I can never P-edit. There it is, probably there. Edit spline. Edit Polyline. P-edit. Okay, and now I'm going to do an array of that. Polar array. Move that thing. Now I got to do a little bit more work again. I have to do some trimming. Come on. TR, trim. Oh, I have to explode it. That's why. I don't know why that's having trim. That is so weird. I have some sort of a command set up weird. But I'll just go in. There's always a way to do it. There. So now I've got a cool thing. And I have to make that into a single polyline. That's P-edit, and you don't really have to know this, but multiple. Get everything in there. Yes, change them all to polylines and J for join. 0 fuzz distance. There. Now that's all one thing. That's one object. So I've made a weird shape. Now if I go
I'm
to
sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
What I just literally group that together. Would that not do the same thing, or is doing what you just did a better way to put them together?
Group might work. I don't know if this command works on group. It might. It
Okay.
just needs an object. So I'm going to
Okay.
make a viewport out of this object. And now I can go and click and make that bigger. That kind of set in the middle of it. But it's sort of like making a mask in reverse, right? It's a reverse mask. So that's kind of a cool, just kind of a neat thing that you can do. However you feel like doing that. But I wanted to show you that you can create something called a polyline. There's another way to make that all one thing, and that's the BO command, boundary command. And that's really getting way out. It's not part of this class, but I'll just do another one just for fun. And this time I'm not going to be quite as, now I'm just going to draw a bunch of separate little lines. And those are all separate lines. So if I type BO for boundary, and then I click inside, it makes that into all one thing. Is that cool? That's another good one. BO, boundary command. And now I can do the same thing. I can say make a layout of my it's already a clip viewport? Really? No, it's not. I don't know why that one's not working right now. There it is. There's my object. That is really interesting. Maybe that didn't work.
Well, are you working as a model or as a layout?
I'm on a layout to make a viewport.
I see.
And I don't know why that is not. That is really weird. I don't know why that's not working. It says it's a viewport. It should be able to find the stuff in there. There it goes. It was working. I was just being clumsy with it. So there's another way you can do it is the BO command to make a boundary. So they're just fun pattern stuff that you could do. Now I don't know if you can make an array out of viewports. That's something I've never tried, but you might be able to. What I've seen people do is create their own little polygon alphabet and then paste those viewports on to kind of create a masking like thing of letters. I've seen people work with that, but there's a lot of setup to that. But anyway, I think this is kind of cool of what you can do. And if you're doing landscaping, it's almost like doing, if this, instead of hatching, you had an image and you wanted to put the image of the brick or an image of the landscaping, planting, or whatever, you could do it that way rather than just doing the hatch command. So there's another little thing. So there we go. Is that cool? There's another another thing that you can use AutoCAD for. So we've got all these kind of cool little things that we can work with to get stuff done. Pattern with copies and patterns. They're just fun to work with. And I think you can do some nice work with this. Okay, any other cool questions? Steven, what do you got?
Yeah, for my pattern, I was trying to do the Twilight Zone swirl. I can't figure out how to do arcs that aren't perfect circles.
Arcs?
How do you draw an arc and then move it so that one leg comes inside itself rather than finishing the circle?
Well, let's see.
Can you freehand an arc?
You can. So you can do arc 3 points. 1, 2, 3. So there's 1, 2, 3. Something like that. It wants to go counterclockwise if you do arc 3 points. Okay, the one I tend to use is start end direction. So I say I want it to start there, end there, and then I can make it big or small by where the tangent line to the arc goes. So when I'm just freehanding arcs, that's how I tend to do it, because I tend to know where the start and the end is and just want to put some stuff.
Okay, because what it is the old Twilight Zone spiral
Oh, right.
where it spirals in on itself, and I can't figure out how to do that.
Well, so that's actually an Archimedes spiral. That's how to do it right there.
Oh, okay.
So now I'll share that.
A little more complicated than I thought it would be.
It's not really that complicated. So basically, you just cut it up and cut it up, and then just go from point to point to point to point to point to point. Okay, so cut it into 30 segments and then offset it 12 times in. And then you just start going point to point to point to point to point to point to point. You
Okay.
can also do it with a okay, so now let me do
It'd take me 5 minutes in Photoshop.
well, there's another one. Draw a helix. Something like that.
Yeah. Now, where'd you find that?
Okay, that one's not technically an Archimedes spiral, but it's a good one. It's called coil or helix.
But that's a drop down out of which?
It's underneath draw.
Oh, okay.
And there's more cool things under there.
Gotcha. I didn't even look there.
So there's helix.
That would probably work good enough for what I'm trying to do.
Yep. And there's also the ability to do a 3D helix, but you have to be in 3D mode.
Okay.
So that's not a bad thing. That's a fun one to play
That'll give me a basis, at least for what I was trying to do.
Yeah. So then check this out. Come on, find the center. I know it could do it. See, you can do stuff like that. So let me put the... Those are that's something that you can do. And then if you want to come, like, find out where that goes. I think now I can do a hatch in there. Come on. Oh, couldn't find the closed boundary. Now maybe it will. Huh. I don't know why that's not finding the closed boundary. Let me do a fillet here. It's not planar. What did I do? Thought everything was all in one plane. Oh, man, look at that. I pulled it upwards. But you get the picture, right? I made that one. Where is my Z?
Is there a select all flatten command?
There is actually. It's called flat shot. Let's try flatten. That might have done it. No, it's still not flat, but you get the idea of what you can do, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I have to get everything down at 1Z level. There should be a start Z and an end Z to both of these. Base, height.
Might have to order me one of those AutoCAD cheat sheet laminated command printouts.
Nope, still there. All right, well, I'll stop playing with that one for now. But it's kind of cool. That's a fun one. I mean, that actually really looks kind of groovy, right? That it's whichever way you want it to go. That's a fun one right there. And that's something, that's what week 5 and week 6, if you choose to, I just give you I just tell you, play with cool things and show me 7 or 8 really cool things that you've done that look groovy. So next week you're going to have to draw a bunch of stuff. And I did, by the way, I added an architectural one or a landscape one. So you're just going to have to draw a bunch of stuff that I tell you to draw next week. And then the weeks 5 and week 6 are comprised of just kind of like doing your own cool thing. I give you basics to work on, but you get to pick your focus. Cool?
Does that mean that you added an extra plate for this week?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's for next week.
Gotcha. Okay.
This week stayed the same. So I just added one for next week. Cool. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, then I'm going to stop.